My name is Tarun Ravi. I live in Las Vegas, prior to which I lived in Los Angeles for a few years. This is an emergency. I sincerely request national TV reporters and channels to take this issue very seriously and interview us victims and do a report. Evil became history. Sky has fallen more than 40 years ago. Consciousness became artificial simulation. World is in a simulation for the last 40 years. But Americans and human species have been sleeping while the US government has been secretly chipping millions of Americans and global public with global MK Ultra program, with the DNA mind control nanobots, and linking their brains to NSA HIVE AI Global Information Grid, and remotely operating the victims like animals and altering their daily lives with supercomputer AI every day. So please contact me as soon as possible, at least on Zoom, and interview me. Supercomputer AI reverse engineered human brain completely 40 years ago. All my knowledge is acquired as a targeted individual. Mind control victims are called targeted individuals. Another 15 to 20 years, majority of the human species their brains will be linked to NSA HIVE Global Information Grid, which is controlled at the back end by network supercomputers AI. Time is really running out for human species to remain human. Russian President Mr. Vladimir Putin said a few years ago, whoever controls AI will control the world. It already happened. Mind control or remote neural monitoring it's not fiction. Tens of millions of American brains and global public's brains are already linked to NSA HIVE AI Global Information Grid, which means they can read and program tens of millions of human beings via satellites, cell towers, drones, and even internet. The perpetrators, they can not only read the private thoughts, emotions of human beings remotely, they can also remotely program the victims to text, talk, email, and act without attaching any wires. It took me about 7 years to figure it out, how they remotely program human brains. They are also remotely creating pain in victims' bodies, including genitals, neck, ears, eyes, feet, hands, fingers, rectum, toes, you name it, they can do it. Everything remotely. We were put in an electronic concentration camp for years. It's literally a brain holocaust or a neuro holocaust. I have a graduate degree in computer science from a US university and 12 years work experience at IBM and Ford Motor Company as a consultant. And the US government psychologist tested my IQ. You can see I scored 128 after being tortured 12 years, physically and mentally. If you think these technologies didn't affect you, these frightening weapons, you're mistaken and you're delusional. It already affected you and your families. You just don't know it. Every passing day, hundreds of thousands of humans are being added to this global artificial intelligence matrix grid, the evil US government, deep state, assiduously and secretly constructed more than 30 years ago. This Illuminati deep state psychopath's plan is to link all human brains in the next 15 years to this human quantum computer. They have been spreading these DNA mind control nanobots around the world for the last 30 years. The Western mainstream media is not going to tell you about all these weapons and technologies because entire MSM, American MSM and British MSM, is overtly, completely controlled by CIA, NSA, MI6, and MI5, and this evil shadow US government deep state. AI enslavement of human species already happened. I and other mind control victims are living proof of it. The evil elites deliberately trained AI to humiliate, dehumanize, demonize, and deliberately, physically, and mentally torture all humans 24/7, 365 days a year, and forcibly subjugate every human. America's missing money. The federal government can't account for $21 trillion. The evil shadow US government used these $21 trillion of black budgets to develop these insanely terrifying dystopian brain control weapons and supercomputer AI to neurally enslave the entire nation of America and the rest of the human species without the knowledge of American public and American powerless puppet low IQ politicians. Please read these tweets. This is the reality. In the very near future, the vast majority of the human population will be remotely connected to a highly advanced global hive mind. This will be done in a covert manner, unseen by most, and it will become intimate part of our lives, known or unknown. Almost all American congressmen and senators, their neural data is available to the intelligence agencies. This shadow government deep state, they can influence the senators and the congressmen remotely, their minds. And not a single freaking idiot, congressman and senator idiots, have a clue about all these technologies. They're all low IQ people, the entire congressmen and senators. In a real world, every congressman, American congressman and senator will be in mental asylums. That's how dumb they are. But they're very infinitely deceptive, cunning, ruthless, and greedy. Pathologically lying too.
If they want to experiment on you, by the thousands, they will. And you can be driven to insanity and death, and you just become a tick in a box without any so much as a feeling. Yeah, and this is what they do, and this is why they are above the law. One of the experiments was to take an ordinary sane person, cause insanity, and have a psychiatrist who was unknown to everybody diagnose schizophrenia or paranoia or a psychiatric illness. That was a successful outcome. And the person would spend the rest of their life in an asylum in misery, but to the government scientists, that was a success.
Julian Assange said, "We have a few blissful years left until enforced telepathic readings." And Edward Snowden also said the same thing. The whole world thinks POTUS is the most powerful person on the planet. That's a complete lie, and I will show you. President of the US is at level 17 in top secret crypto. So there are 10 or 11 levels in top secret crypto above the president, and another 10 major levels, security levels. So you can see, literally, American president is a complete nobody. Nobody knows who are those people above POTUS, with security levels above POTUS. Those people control and run the US government from behind. POTUS and Congress clowns and senators, congressmen and senators, they are powerless puppets who merely execute orders given to them from behind by the evil shadow US government, deep state, and controlled by military-industrial complex and oligarchs like Rothschilds, Rockellers, Gates, George Soros, Larry Fink, and think tanks like CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, the Federal Reserve, Trilateral Commission, the World Economic Forum, WEF, Bilderberg Group, and other Wall Street banking, oil, and pharma elites.
The so-called black budget has never been shown to the public until now.
Since 1996, the Pentagon has spent $8.5 trillion in taxpayer money that has never been accounted for.
Every year, hundreds of billions of Pentagon dollars go missing, not because of fraud, waste, or abuse, but because US military planners have appropriated it to secretly develop advanced weapons and fund clandestine operations.
A shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself.
Senator Daniel Inouye is speaking about the Unacknowledged Special Access Programs, or USAPs, an entity that uses taxpayer dollars, but is not beholden to domestic laws.
Former Supreme Court judge, US Supreme Court Judge Felix Frankfurter said this about US government. The real rulers in Washington are invisible and exercise power from behind the scenes. President Obama was to the deep state what the press secretary is to the president. He published this book in 2015. 99% of everything what's in your brains and 8 billion human brains is disinformation. CIA Director William Casey said this in 1981. Psychologist Dr. Carol Smith published an extensively researched column about mind control victims like me back in 2003. That's 20 years ago. If you read the first paragraph, you will see she said part of the effort is to remind the victim that they are constantly under control or surveillance. And the perpetrators remind the victims with personally codified system of comments on thoughts and events. Remember those keywords, thoughts and events, designed to create stress, panic, and desperation. This is mind control at its most benign. CIA successfully remotely controlled multiple animal species by 1961 with MK Ultra program, and also announced that they will apply those mind control technologies on humans. It only takes a year or two to adapt those technologies to humans. So you can extrapolate and imagine how advanced CIA mind control technologies are today, 60 years later. That is how they have been operating human beings for the last 30 years. University of Buffalo scientists created magnetic nanoparticles in 2010 and remotely operated animals. University of Buffalo scientists developed these mind control nanoparticles or nanobots with just a couple of $1 million of research budget. So you can extrapolate and imagine how advanced CIA technologies are since they started developing these technologies since 1953 with $21 trillion of black budgets. And the best of the best mind control scientists, neurologists, psychiatrists, and 70 years of time and complete secrecy. So you can imagine how terrifying the mind control technologies and the neuroweapons they developed in the last 70 years. So how does CIA or the evil US government deep state invade human brains without our knowledge and consent?
Hyperreality is an inability of consciousness to distinguish reality from a simulation of reality. What is real and what is fiction are blended together so that there is no clear distinction between where one ends and the other begins. It allows the co-mingling of physical reality with virtual reality and human intelligence with artificial intelligence. Targeted individuals find themselves thrust into this new reality against their will and without their permission. They have been linked to artificial intelligence supercomputers so that their brains can be modeled and mapped to the sentient world simulation.
Where a computer could learn enough about me, create a copy of me, and I could still be here. I might not even know that you scanned my brain, and we could scan my brain from inside, sending scanners through the bloodstream, billions of them, in the form of nanorobots or nanobots, and capture every detail of my synapses and neurotransmitters, and create a virtual Ray Kurzweil in a very powerful computer, and it would be indistinguishable from me. It would pass a Ray Kurzweil Turing test.
And I will show a video how these nanobots enter our brains and attach themselves to our brain synapses. This is 40-year-old technology. Millions of those nanobots are inside our heads, millions of human beings' heads all over the world. But this is 40-year-old technology. How they secretly chip human beings with these mind control nanobots is shown in this short video clip of the movie Gamer.
See, nanocells are real small, 1,000 times smaller than these dust particulates. You inhale it, they go to work replicating, spreading like a virus, multiplying in exponentials. 6 months' time, I could have 100 million people converted, ditch diggers, porn stars, and presidents. Not one would be the wiser. 100 million people who buy what I want them to buy and do pretty much damn well anything I figure they ought to do.
So this is a 40-year-old technology. Later, by 1980s, the shadow US government developed much more advanced technology, mind control neuroweapons, with DNA resonant frequency. So once we are secretly chipped with these mind control nanoparticles, nanobots, nanorobots, they can remotely read our private thoughts, emotions, and memories.
Linking brains to the internet and data clouds that make an unlimited amount of information available to us all the time. Yeah, we can do these kind of things.
Patent number 6011991, remote brain computer interface neural monitoring, i.e. via satellite, from the location of the individual to a remote location so that the brain activity can be computer analyzed.
Former DARPA scientist, Dr. Paul Bacho, he revealed to the public a few years ago that cell towers in Tampa, Florida area were being used to mind control people and electronically harass and torture American civilians. He was a former DARPA scientist. I will give you a few examples of how they read my private thoughts and then they stalk me on the internet and post comments with embedded responses to my private thoughts. Back in 2015, when I merely privately thought that Danielle Ryan, a journalist in Ireland, looked better in her previous Twitter profile picture, the evil shadow US government psychopaths remotely read my private thoughts and then remotely read Danielle Ryan's password from her brain and then remotely accessed her computer and changed her profile picture to the previous one. Miss Danielle Ryan expressed surprise and tweeted this the next day that she had no idea how and who changed her Twitter bio picture to the previous one. That's the picture I thought she was good looking, the previous picture. A few days later, when I wondered if she has a boyfriend, the perpetrators remotely read my private thoughts and remotely programmed Danielle Ryan in Ireland to tweet that she has been living like a nun for a while. I forgot to save the tweet. On January 15, 2015, while playing poker online in Los Angeles, I thought about how poker kept me sane from all the physical and mental tortures I was being subjected to for years by the perpetrators. The perpetrators read my private thoughts and remotely programmed journalist Abby Martin to tweet this the next day with the words, "People that help me stay sane." On December 11th, 2008, while playing WPT poker tournament at Bellagio Casino in Las Vegas, I thought I have an advantage over other players in late night tournaments because I can stay awake late into the night and other players will make mistakes because of being sleepy. So the perpetrators read my private thoughts and remotely programmed Lisa Parsons to approach me a few minutes later and casually ask me, "Bobby, do you think nighttime players make mistakes because of being sleepy?" Bobby has been my nickname since my childhood. In 2012, I wondered in my mind what poker player Maria Ho thinks of me. So the evil perpetrators read my private thoughts and then read Maria Ho's private thoughts and posted this message on the cricket news group with username Cool Dude to inform me that she thinks that I'm a cool dude. A few years ago, in San Jose, California, I was in my brother's house and I read somewhere on the web that it is better to drink Coke with a straw so the Coke doesn't touch our teeth and enamel. So I took out a straw and started drinking Coke. And I thought in my mind I was being smart. A couple of minutes later, the evil psychopaths, US government psychopaths, read my private thoughts and remotely programmed my 5-year-old niece to proactively tell me, "Uncle, you're being very smart, drinking Coke with a straw." One day, I thought in my mind, why am I suffering, all these physically and mentally for no fault of mine? I'm not a terrorist. I didn't commit any crime. I was just a normal 9-to-5 working guy. And I thought maybe my birth date was my bad luck. My birth date is 8. So these psychopaths read my private thoughts, what was happening in my mind, and a few minutes later, called my cell phone number and spoofed this number, 888-888-8888. So that's how they informed me. They knew that I was thinking that 8 is my unlucky number. So since I had absolutely no mental privacy, I was in San Jose, California, in my brother's house. And I thought in my mind, how do I communicate with my brother without them watching me? I was trying to find privacy. So I thought, okay, maybe if I write it on a piece of paper and give it to my brother to read, that's how I can communicate without them knowing. They read my private thoughts and they posted this message. They basically suggested to me the best way to communicate information privately with my brother is by chalking on a slate. So this is how they basically stalk me 24/7 every day, and they communicate in secret coded messages to me. And a few years ago, I was dating a Chinese American. She was working at Google as a manager. So after a few months, I was concerned that these bastards, these psychopaths, will break up our relationship because I already knew they secretly chipped both of us. So I was scared that they will break our relationship. The very next day, this evil deep state psychopaths, they programmed my ex-girlfriend, this Chinese American in San Jose, to proactively call me and initiate a conversation and accuse that it was India's fault. The 1962 Indo-China War was started by India. And I instantly knew these psychopaths programmed her brain to say that to me in order to create rupture our relationship. So when I instantly perceive that they programmed her, they can read again my thought process from my brain. And they were kind of shocked how I can instantly perceive those things. So this is my ex-girlfriend, Chinese American, who was a Google manager at Google. So these perpetrators broke up my relationship with her. And they've been doing this kind of operations on millions of people around the world, breaking up relationships, sabotaging careers, destroying their lives, like the movie Adjustment Bureau. And this was revealed by whistleblower Brian Coffran in 2017. But I knew this back in 2008 itself, 2008. That was 9 years before he revealed to the public. Sometimes the perpetrators remotely programmed other people to text me very benign words or text messages like, I understand what you're saying. No brainer. You are consistent. Did you prepare well? Am I disturbing you? Are you free? Sorry for that. Text messages like these. They were all programmed. All these are hidden, secret coded messages to me from the perpetrators, but they appear as very casual conversations for the rest of the human species. I'm the only one who can perceive these things, and I can do it almost instantly in a couple of seconds. I can process, are these things texted to me voluntarily by the people, or were they programmed by the perpetrators, the evil US government, deep state psychopaths sitting in America? And the US government knows that I'm the only one who can process this information so fast, and I am the only person with these with a third eye. I thought in my mind that maybe other people can also perceive some of these messages, secret coded messages. So these perpetrators read my private thoughts again, what was happening in my brain, and posted this message to inform me that's not true. I am the only unique human being with these extraordinary perception abilities by telling me it is unique, damn it. This is how they stalk me on internet forums, and they post these messages with secret embedded responses to my private thoughts. Dr. James Giordano, he was a former DARPA scientist. And this is what he said about these nano swarms and nano robots.
Weaponization and misuse of the brain sciences for nefarious agenda, for political, intelligence, and military use. Note, this has not been directly addressed, nor has it been entertained by any United States government entity in a public forum. What has gone from the drawing board to the reality is this: the use of neural interfacing and physiological interfacing through the idea of remote-controlled small-scale systems to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate all but the most robust biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, and they can be done in such a level that their presence is almost impossible to detect, and as such the attribution becomes exceedingly difficult to demonstrate. The idea here is to put minimal-sized electrodes in a network within a brain through only minimal intervention to be able to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely. And by affecting the way that brain is built and the way it functions, influence in ways that are kinetic and non-kinetic the attitudes, beliefs, thoughts, emotions, activities, and relative vulnerabilities and predispositions of those individuals for whom may threaten us. It used to be that I need to be exceedingly close to someone to now influence them with a weapon, and now what we see is we create both distal potential as well as much more capable potential to affect them in a variety of different ways. Take a look. This is the front of my pen. This amount of nanomaterial, if be able to maintain and sustain with regard to its deliverability and aerosolization, could in fact affect all of you. Look at this. Look at this. I'm carrying that material. You see it? Would I have to lug a giant weapon into the room? No, I wouldn't. And what if, in fact, I utilize some form of an unmanned aerial device or unmanned ground device as a delivery vehicle? Something like a drone or a bug. Could I do something with that? The answer is increasingly yes. Not a month goes by where I don't get a call at my institute by someone telling me that someone in the government implanted these things.
So Dr. Giordano, what did he say? He said, read and write into human brain remotely. And that's exactly what I've been saying. And that's exactly what I experienced for the last 20 years. It is possible the evil shadow US government has been spreading these nano swarms, nano robots all over the world with chemtrails. It is within the realm of possibility. They've been spreading these chemtrails in US, France, Holland, England, and other countries. These nanoparticles stay in the air, in the atmosphere. So when the Earth rotates, these nano swarms and nano robots basically replicate themselves, and they have spread it all over the world, basically. The US government itself said in 2001 that these chemtrails are an exotic weapon. So how can they be an exotic weapon? How can dust be an exotic weapon? So we can easily conclude that the dust that they're spreading with chemtrails all over the world are these DNA mind control nanobots and artificial intelligence dust or smart dust. Likewise, I will give you another example of my third eye abilities. I received this phone call on my cell phone number, and the mystery behind this story is I was playing poker online in Los Angeles. So I usually make a mental note of how many coin flips I win. So one particular day, I forgot. I didn't make a mental note. The evil perpetrators, they read my private thought process, the entire thought process, and made this phone call to me with this number, 747-222-2148. The coded message to me is the last 4 digits, 2148. They were telling me that I won 2 out of 8 coin flips. 1 is 1, W-O-N, 1. 4 is for, F-O-R, 8. 2 for 8. 2, 1 for 8 coin flips that particular day. And I perceived this in just a matter of few seconds, which shocked them. While playing a poker tournament at Commerce Casino in Los Angeles, I wondered if Will Fela will stake me to play poker. After a few minutes, the evil psychopaths read my private thoughts and remotely programmed Will Fela to proactively tell me, Bobby, I will stake you. Bobby has been my nickname, and he knows me by my nickname, Bobby. While playing a poker tournament at Rio Casino in Las Vegas in 2019, I felt the urge to tell the players on the table that the evil CIA and NSA psychopaths already invaded their brains with mind control neuroweapons and AI, and that the psychopaths can artificially alter the outcome of a hand on the table. And then I thought, if I tell them, they will take my picture and post it on the social media and insult me. So I kept quiet. The evil perpetrators read my private thoughts, and a few minutes later, remotely programmed Kumar Jasti, who was also playing the same tournament on a different table, to come to my table, take my picture, and post it on our WhatsApp group. When I was playing a sit-and-go tournament at Rio Casino in Las Vegas, the perpetrators remotely created pain in my knees, and then a minute or two later, programmed another poker player, Champy Douglas, sitting next to me to challenge me for a running race without any rhyme or reason. So by 1980s, they mastered all these mind control technologies and brain control weapons with these nanobots. So later, they developed even more advanced neuroweapons by using DNA resonant frequency. Just like each human being has unique fingerprints, each human being also has a unique DNA resonant frequency, which acts as a receiver to our bodies and brains. So that video showed the basic concept of DNA resonant frequency. So all they have to do is link each human being's individual unique DNA resonant frequency to their supercomputers. How it is done was explained by a mercenary company, a perpetrator who turned a whistleblower. His name is Brian Kaffer. He explained in this video how the front end of this linking our DNA resonant frequencies to the supercomputer AI is done.
You know, are you willing to risk everything to try to save this country? And I'm hoping that by me coming forward and doing the best I can and for surviving as long as I can, I will inspire other insiders and give them the courage and the hope they need to make that decision as well and see if we can't start making some progress against this thing. Voice to skull, hive mind, behavior manipulation technology. The true control grid is this technology. Supercomputer software programming will manipulate the emotions and behavior and the thoughts of everybody in the United States of America. And it can all be done remotely. It's very much like the microchip kind of tracking the New World Order, this entire, control grid that's supposed to be rolled out against the American people someday. And I'm here to tell you that it's already here. The way it works is a device broadcasts a radio frequency, let's say at an individual, and that radio frequency will hook up with the resonant frequency of the individual's mind or body, or in this case, DNA.
And they do this by contracting with labs like LabCorp, Quest Diagnostics, etc., who provide lab services for employers who are doing massive amounts of drug tests and blood tests, and also the involvement of sperm banks was mentioned in some of the information I saw working for my company. These are perfect ways to acquire an individual's DNA, build a DNA profile on them, and then this information, the DNA of the individual, is used to determine the resonant frequency of the DNA itself. The resonant frequency is then used to fine-tune the technology, the radio frequency signals, the microwave auditory effect, and all of the other aspects of the technology to tune it perfectly to the resonant frequency of the targeted individual's DNA. This is one of the reasons why many targeted individuals believe that there are nanotechnology, nanobots inside of their body. Smart dust, things of this nature, nanofibers that completely fill the target's body. And based on some of the scientific papers that I've seen written on this, this is possible and it is going on. But it is a lower form of the technology. It is a less advanced form of the technology. The true holy grail in terms of this technology is DNA resonant frequency. It taps right into the DNA and it does it remotely by resonating with the exact frequency that your DNA resonates.
And what happens is once the resonant frequency is found in the targeted individual and the broadcast frequency matches up with that resonant frequency, those two frequencies interlock and they can be thought of as one frequency or one energy. And what happens is between the broadcast frequency and the individual that's receiving the broadcast frequency, once it's resonating, once they are resonating together, a super highway of frequency along which information can be sent is created. And so you can think of it just like fiber optic cables that you use to send signals over the internet that connect people to the internet. It's the exact same thing, only a wireless application of that. And so once you have connected the targeted individual with the frequency and they resonate together, then you have a perfect avenue upon which to send and receive information back and forth. And that's exactly how they manipulate someone's thoughts. They send voices into someone's head. They manipulate their emotions. They manipulate their behavior. And then that's also how they receive back from the individual in real time the vital signs, the emotions, the thoughts, what the person's seeing, what the person's hearing. And then all that information, of course, is rendered on a computer elsewhere via software, and it can be monitored and tracked in real time. Because of my
So once they link our DNA resonant frequencies to the supercomputers via satellites, they can download and upload information into our brains. Emotions, thoughts, they can program our brains to say something. They can operate us just like animals, remotely controlled toys or animals. So Matrix movie became a reality in the 1980s. It was a documentary. Matrix movie is not fiction. French President Macron, when he visited Moscow, he refused to take a COVID test because Russian government will get his DNA resonant frequency information, because Russia can use his DNA resonant frequency information to link his brain to artificial intelligence and read and program his mind. So he refused. Likewise, the US government told its army not to take DNA tests. Pentagon tells military personnel not to use at-home DNA tests. So all these things prove that this DNA resonant frequency is the holy grail of mind control technologies. So when I played poker in a bike casino in Los Angeles, on a different day, I saw poker model Melanie Iglesias. She was a model working for World Poker Tour, WPT. So I started reading her tweets out of curiosity. So the evil psychopaths programmed her brain to treat that my gift is also a curse. My ESP and third eye gift is also a curse, because nobody will believe it. Only the evil US government, shadow government, deep state psychopaths, the CIA, the NSA, the DHS, the FBI, only they know that I'm gifted. So I cannot make money, I cannot become famous. So which means it's a curse for me. Everybody will think I'm a lunatic, I'm a schizophrenic. This was on September 21st, 2010. My gift is also a curse. She doesn't know, she didn't know that the evil shadow government remotely programmed her brain to treat this as a secret coded message from the psychopaths to me. Just imagine. They are communicating with me by programming another human being's brain to treat this without her knowledge and consent. Likewise, these deep state psychopaths, they watched me for so many years and they couldn't figure it out, why I have this extraordinary perception ability. So they kept pulling hair out of their heads. So out of their frustration, they remotely programmed Melanie Iglesias to treat the second one, to inform me that they wish I'm an alien. How awesome would it be if all my skin peeled off and it turned out I have just been an alien this entire time trying to fit in. So the evil psychopaths, they wished I'm an alien. Likewise, the third tweet. In 2011, for example, I thought in my mind, am I overrating myself? That's what I introspected. So the evil psychopaths read my private thoughts again and remotely programmed her that line to inform me that I'm better than I know myself. So they've been doing this for 15 to 20 years now. They've been programming people to tweet, to talk. They program my neighbors to say something to me for the last 15, 20 years. And my gift is really a curse, because the things I just told you in this video make me look like I'm a delusional, schizophrenic, lunatic, paranoid. But that's not true. When I wondered, what should I call my extraordinary perception abilities? I wondered in my mind. I didn't ask anybody. The psychopaths read my private thoughts and remotely programmed my doctor in one of the appointments to proactively tell me, Tarun, you should call your extraordinary abilities ESP. That's what they programmed my own doctor to tell me in one of my appointments.
New topic, a whole new category. Most people don't believe it's happening. You can be tortured in your own home. No one will believe you. Your brain has been rewired to feel the other, I call it the empathy machine. We can overpower all senses. We can create false sense of touch, make you think ghosts are touching you. We can, create smells that aren't really there, tastes. So you can imagine all the trickery that we're capable of doing, from hauntings to being beamed up by aliens, being anal probed. So unfortunately, it gets into very dark topics of trauma-based conditioning we do remotely, rape, torture, etc. The brain doesn't distinguish between these signals.
Worked on projects with the CIA, Justice Department, Department of Defense.
Is this the stuff, voices in the head and things like that?
Yes.
We've run into a few people that claim they got voices in their heads, they sleep inside tinfoil boxes, they do a lot of crazy things, it seems. But when they talk to us, they seem totally normal, they seem totally sane. Are these people crazy, or is the government doing this to them?
The government's doing this to them.
He's not even bothering to hide. So you know for a fact that these weapons that you worked on, they're being used domestically today?
Absolutely. You have to remember, the CIA has a long history of experimenting on our citizens. Right. LSD.
Sure. Okay, we're talking here like going back to MK Ultra and all that in the 60s and 70s. But we were told all that stopped. Is that untrue?
Untrue. These programs continue under new names, new budgets. It's the ultimate weapon.
Are there citizens of this country that are being abused with this technology?
Worse than abused, that's a light word. They're being tortured.
So the targeted individuals aren't crazy after all.
I actually have a PhD in neurobiology and behavior from Cornell University. I work, all I can say is that I work inside the Beltway. I'm a health scientist, I'm a published researcher. My name is Matthew Arnegaard. You can look at my publications. I've published in top science journals. And, this crime, it happened to me. Those credentials may give me a little bit of credibility, but the sad thing is, it's happening to all kinds of people, and no one is believing us, even when you have solid evidence like this.
It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they're coming from somewhere other than your own mind. So
there is no firewall for a human brain, which means once our DNA resonant frequency is linked to their supercomputers, we are neural slaves forever. The perpetrators, the evil psychopaths, are using this torture software interface to torture people. They can literally harm people, civilians, remotely, and create any of these problems remotely without the knowledge and consent of the torture victims. In San Jose, California, I stood in front of the mirror in the bathroom, cut my nails, blew some air on the fingers like this and moved my hands near the chest back and forth and thought my nails were shining. And then I privately wondered in my mind if the evil bastards are watching me in the bathroom. Half an hour later, the perpetrators posted this on internet forums I was reading at the time.
Along with a certain agenda, it can be used to turn groups of people or individuals against each other for whatever purpose. The entire point of this social engineering program that has been researched and developed for decades now, the full intent within the program, everything that's planned going forward, the day-to-day attitude of all the people, is that this program is going to be rolled out nationwide and it will become the norm. Every man, woman, and child in America will be under the influence of this technology. And as you can see going forward, what's going to happen is a dividing line is going to be drawn in America. And it's not going to be Democrat or Republican or black and white, rich, poor, Jew, Gentile, religious differences, whatever it is. It's going to be based on who is on the right and the wrong side of this technology, who is on the right and the wrong side of this program. And so if you are not a part of this program, then there is a very real risk that you are going to become a full-blown 24/7 targeted individual. And this technology at that point, when it is nationwide, will be used by automated supercomputer software programming that will manipulate the emotions and the behavior and the thoughts of everybody in the United States of America. And it can all be done remotely. It's very much like the microchip kind of tracking the New World Order, this entire, control grid that's supposed to be rolled out against the American people someday. And I'm here to tell you that it's already here. There isn't going to come a day where there's troops in the streets and tanks rolling down your neighborhood and riot gear and all this stuff. We might have isolated incidents like that. It might get like that every once in a while, but the true control grid is this technology, voice-to-skull, hive mind, behavior manipulation technology. And it can all be done remotely. It can be done simply by targeting you with the frequency, locking into the resonant frequency of your DNA and your mind, and in that manner completely track and trace and control you.
So the back end of these neuroweapons is explained by Steve Hoffman. He is the CEO of Founder Space, a Silicon Valley company.
But I will tell you, one of the things we'll be able to do is we'll be to outsource functions of our brain. So we'll be able to outsource, we'll be able to upload our memories to the cloud. What they're doing is looking at the pattern in the brain, and then they're matching that pattern, they're putting that into a database. So if you can match the patterns in somebody's brain to the patterns in the database, you can literally start to read their mind. Every time a word comes up, you know it. Oh, that word came up for that individual. Now, will the patterns be identical in every person? Probably not, though the information will be stored in slightly different places. But it wouldn't take long for you to train a machine to read your mind. Now, that's just the beginning. They may be able to have algorithms sophisticated enough, and they get enough samples, enough data, that the AI could actually learn over time what the general rules are for different words, and then you could apply it to anybody. We have algorithms that stimulate the right things and give it the right data. They could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. We call it hallucinating, right? But these would be controlled hallucinations run by algorithms. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually some evil AI or evil people controlling everything we do, and we're more like zombies, you know? Like we think we're free and we're not actually free. But if they're connected, if your brain is connected directly to the internet, then it will be real identity theft. They could take you. They could literally erase you. They could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually somebody else.
This picture shows how human beings are being tortured with these weapons. Basically, they can read and broadcast thoughts. They can project or beam dreams into our REM sleep in the early hours, early morning. When we are in REM sleep, they can project dreams. During the daytime, when we are awake, they can project thoughts. They can influence our thoughts and behavior. They can make us fight, argue with other human beings. So they can literally operate us at animal level, like animals. These are called psychoelectronic weapons. So these psychopaths sometimes communicate with me by projecting dreams into my brain in REM sleep, which appear like dreams for us. For example, a few years ago, they projected a dream into my brain. My head is being used as a football by two teams. One team was wearing blue dress, the other team was wearing red dress. And they were using my head and they were playing football. They projected this dream into my head, my brain. And they informed me that's what they did by posting this secret message the next morning. Which skulls can be used for playing football? So they stalk me on these internet forums, and then they post these messages, secret coded messages. They use my skull or my head as a football, kicking me around on a football field. Likewise, they project dreams into my brain literally every few days, once every few days. And they also use those messages, dreams, as secret coded messages. They projected another dream into my brain when I told them if they don't stop torturing me, I told them I will approach Russian embassy or Chinese embassy or other American enemies and inform them about all these technologies that the US government has, share my knowledge about all these weapons, and seek political asylum in return. So the psychopaths projected a dream into my brain. And in the dream, I call Russian embassy, and then my brain gets stuck. I couldn't speak. Basically, I forget who I am. Same thing with my mother. I call my mother says, hello, hello. And then I forget my own name. My brain gets stuck. I forget my own name. I forget who I am, just like Jason Bourne character. So they basically inform me through the dream that they will destroy my brain, spread virus and destroy my brain if I expose them to the rest of the world.
This technology can be used to beam images and even motion pictures into one's brain. Images and motion pictures that are so realistic that you think you're actually watching a movie or seeing something in reality. It's like a virtual reality 3D rendering that takes place within the target's mind. This technology can also be used to manipulate the emotions of the target. It can induce fear, love, hate. It can cause you to be nervous. It can cause you to be confident. It can cause you to be depressed. It can cause you to be happy. It can cause you to feel any fucking emotion at any time by artificially inducing them. So that when that person goes to speak out about it, when they go to seek help from their fellow human beings, they will conclude that this person must be crazy. And as a result, they will recommend psychological evaluation for that person. You can see the way this is going to go and the way it is going right now. As good people, helpless people that are being abused and tortured and enslaved and experimented upon in America today, American citizens cry out for help from their fellow Americans, and their fellow Americans say, why don't you take some Prozac because we think you're schizophrenic? When this is a highly technical program. All of the symptoms are induced by a technology that is so fucking sophisticated, it is horrifying beyond description.
The ultimate aim would be to archive enough data on each individual to be able to make a computer model of everyone on the planet. One that could be used to predict the behaviors and reactions of every single person in the event of various scenarios.
I want to make this very clear. This is not a conspiracy theory. Your data is being collected. What data, you say?
Your every activity, transaction, physical or virtual, communication, and yes, even your innermost personal thoughts will be cataloged and uploaded to a Hive-based AI system on the global information grid.
Yes, we can absolutely yoke brains to machines to create these interfaces. There's a brand new DARPA project that starts this month called NESD, Neural Engineering Systems Designs. The colloquial name for that is the cortical modem. Implants in the brain that allow real-time input and output from the brain remotely.
This technology could tap into the optical nerve of the target and the auditory system of the target, so that those monitoring the target can see what the target is seeing and hear what the target is hearing.
While playing poker at Commerce Casino in Los Angeles, I complimented a poker dealer from Thailand. Nice name, Shanar. A few minutes later, the perpetrators remotely programmed poker tournament director Matt Savage to proactively say, "Nice name, Shanar," when he came near our table. The perpetrators also remotely programmed him to pat on my shoulder in a friendly manner while walking by my table. A few years ago, while playing poker at Bike Casino in Los Angeles, the evil psychopaths remotely programmed another poker player, Mark Hamilton, to raise my big blind 3.5 times and then tell me, "Tarun, I don't know why I raised 3.5 times the big blind. It's like you are programming my mind." Mark Hamilton usually raises only 2 times the big blind. The psychopaths are committing every conceivable crime you can imagine. And they've been programming people to press accelerator instead of brakes on busy roads and getting them into accidents, and vice versa, programming people on subway platforms to jump in front of trains and committing suicides. They've been programming bus drivers to get into accidents, programming people to commit murders and other crimes and mass shootings.
Well, there is a very real risk that you are going to become a full-blown 24/7 targeted individual.
So what happens is you get these nanoparticles that attach to our DNA, and when they do, they act as receivers.
And this is going to be hooked up to the 3-strand DNA computers they are building. And these are quantum computers and supercomputers such as the D-Wave system.
And so once you have connected the targeted individual with the frequency and they resonate together, then you have a perfect avenue upon which to send and receive information back and forth. And that's exactly how they manipulate someone's thoughts. They send voices into someone's head. They manipulate their emotions. They manipulate their behavior. And then that's also how they receive back from the individual in real time the vital signs, the emotions, the thoughts, what the person's seeing, what the person's hearing. And then all that information, of course, is rendered on a computer elsewhere via software, and it can be monitored and tracked in real time.
Artificial intelligence.
Millions of Americans' will, intellect, and emotions have already been digitized, destroyed, and downloaded into these supercomputers. Now, this is really scary stuff. The supercomputers are in the process of building copycat, parallel, twin personalities of the souls of the TIs/mind control victims by reverse engineering the will, intellect, and emotions of the TIs in order to achieve direct behavioral control.
So why would the shadow government need to collect and store so much data?
The reason is because they have built a computer-generated real-time mirror model of the world that includes a digital twin copy of every single person on the planet. The more data they can collect from the real world and from each individual, the more accurate the world model becomes. To achieve optimal results, they have used DNA nanobots to link the signals coming from your biological neurons to your very own digital twin in the computer-generated mirror world, so that everything that occurs in the simulation also occurs in the real world and vice versa. As more data is collected, the simulation becomes a more accurate model of the world. Each person's digital twin is readable and writable and subject to the powers of algorithms. And because you are tethered to your digital twin, you too become programmable.
Mouse.
The Human Brain Project achieved its goal of creating a digital model of a human brain. This digital model is used as a template to upload your consciousness to the computer-generated mirror world. A nanobot brain-to-cloud interface links you to this template so that all of your experiences, memories, personality, etc. are transferred to your digital twin. Over time, as more knowledge and data are uploaded to your digital twin, the twin becomes a more accurate representation and will eventually behave and act just as you would given the same set of circumstances.
So my brain is connected to my digital avatar in NSA and CIA computers. So I'm virtually connected via satellites and cell towers with my DNA resonant frequency. So if they create pain to my digital avatar in their computers, I will feel the pain here, and vice versa. So my digital avatar behaves and thinks exactly like I do. And this is real for the entire 8 billion humans. They created this sentient world simulation. For each human being, they have their own digital avatar in the computers, in NSA and CIA supercomputers and quantum computers. When I lived in Los Angeles, California, I compared two poker models, Danielle and Angelique, their character traits and looks. The perpetrators read my private thoughts and posted this secret coded message on the cricket news group, Dunedin versus Adelaide. The secret code is D versus A, the first two letters. I compared Danielle versus Angelique. So they posted this coded message, Dunedin versus Adelaide, D versus A. For a few years, while I was documenting all these things, I thought I took 2 seconds to decode their secret coded message of Dunedin versus Adelaide. The perpetrators read my private thoughts again and remotely programmed Sonam Mahajan in India to post this tweet with the words, in like 3 seconds, to inform me that my brain took just 3 seconds to decode the entire mystery behind the coded message, Dunedin versus Adelaide. What I just said, what I just told you, will make you think that I am the most delusional human being on the planet, the most lunatic person on the planet. But consider this for a moment. What if I said is 100% factual? So now I will explain the reason for my extraordinary perception abilities, the third eye. My brain is connected to the space around us, or in other words, the entire world is inside my brain, a replica of the world. I can separate fact from fiction in an instant at lightning speed, and I can perceive things at lightning speed. Is the concept of third eye real? The answer is yes. Third eye in Vedas and Upanishads written by our Indian ancestors millennia ago. The third eye, according to Upanishads, the core of Vedantic philosophy, it's not a physical organ. It represents the metaphysical manifestation of the power of mind over the physical world. It took me a few years to reluctantly accept the concept of third eye is real, and I do have a third eye. I took almost 7 years. For years, I struggled to figure it out. The infinite time and space amalgamated with my knowledge inside my brain. My brain appears to me as if my knowledge is amalgamated with time and space. I don't know how it happened. It just happened. a few years ago. My brain appears to me as if my knowledge is amalgamated with time and space. When I was a teenager, my mother used to say in my native language Telugu about me, Aviliste Pegulu Lekkapadatadu Ma Abbai, which literally translates to, if you yawn, my son will count your guts, and figuratively translates to, my son can see things not visible to the naked eye. So I had this ability since my teenage years. And if you ask the US government, deep state psychopaths, they will tell you in private that I'm a million times better than what my mother said about me. Because my mother didn't have all these neuroweapons, artificial intelligence, supercomputer AI to test my skills. And they've been pulling the hair out of their heads for the last 20 years. Why my perception abilities are different from the rest of the human species. I created so many records in the evil US government history. They will never ever be broken by any human being. Physicists and astrophysicists understand the theoretical concepts of time and space better than me. But no human on the planet can use time and space factors for perception purposes better than me. What the whistleblower Brian Coffran revealed to the public in 2017, I knew all those things, that the evil US government is remotely programming millions and millions of people, breaking up their relationships, creating artificial relationships between people, making them feel attracted to each other, destroying their careers, sabotaging their careers. I knew all those things. 10 years before, Brian Coffran revealed these things to the public. This is why the 8 billion humans should take everything I say as scripture.
So third eye is not a physical thing. It is just that if your energies reach a certain peak within you, you have a new clarity of vision of life. You see everything from a completely different dimension. So you start seeing things. It's an inner eye, we say. We can say you can turn it inward or outward, whichever way you turn it. So these eyes are only outward. You can't roll your eyeballs inward and see what's within you, isn't it? So third eye is both ways. If you want, you can turn it inward or you can turn it outward. Whichever way, you are seeing life beyond the normal limitations of your perception. Your perception has risen beyond the physical. That is the third eye.
What Mr. Sadhguru said about third eye is 100% real. I am the living proof. If you ask the evil US government deep state psychopaths privately, they will tell you that I have a third eye. Third eye was also depicted in a 1957 Telugu movie. The name of the movie is Panduranga Mahatyam. In that movie, baby Lord Krishna eats clay and his brother complains to their mother. So she comes to Lord Krishna and asks, open your mouth. I will show you the video clip. Baby Lord Krishna shows higher consciousness or Akashic records in his mouth to his mother.
Krishna Mukunda Murari. అమ్మా తమ్ముడు మన్ను తినేను చూడమ్మా ని రామన్న తెలుపగా అన్నా ని చెవినులిమి యశోద ఏదన్నా నీ నోరు చూపుమనగా నింపితివట నీ నోటను బాపురే 14 భువన భాండముల ఆ రూపము గనిన యశోదకు తాపము నశించి జన్మధన్యతగా
So that's exactly how my brain appears to me, as if a replica of the world is inside my brain. The movie director depicted as if it is in baby Krishna's mouth. But in reality, what he was showing, baby Lord Krishna was showing was that the higher consciousness, the world was inside his brain. And this was explained by another artificial intelligence scientist, Dr. Geordie Rose.
The world outside of us is very big. This room, say, is much bigger than my head. But somehow, in some real sense, I have the room inside my head. And it's not just the room, it's the city. And it's not just the city, it's the country. It's not just the country, I can think of the whole planet. So how is this possible? And what I want to point out is the size. So my head's small. Well, not too small. It's small. Small compared to all that. How is it possible that all that's in here? And what's come to be understood in the cutting edge of modern AI is that there is a really interesting, fascinating answer to this. And it has to do with the fact that the world has patterns, structure. So you may be familiar with fractals. So fractals look very complicated, but they're generated by a tiny little thing that you can write down in a few numbers. And the world is like this. Images, like natural images, like what I'm looking at, have so much structure that they can be shrunk and compressed into a very tiny, what AI people call representation. So what our brains seem to do is build a very, very good compressed representation of the world. Call it a model. So just like if I have a building and there's like a blueprint or a scale model of the building, imagine I have the whole world and all of its concepts, and I shrink it down into this weird compressed representation so that it fits inside my brain.
One day, I thought in my mind that these bastards probably didn't figure it out, why I have these extraordinary perception abilities. And the perpetrators, they read my private thoughts again from my mind remotely and responded by posting this message. This is now becoming a big black hole for us, to inform me that they still didn't know why my perception abilities are so superior to the rest of the human species.
Deep state has merged the quantum computer with the sentient world simulation, and the true reason for all this data collection is to feed it into this AI machine to predict and manipulate the course of humanity.
Their ability to look at data in a quantum, artificial intelligence manner, it's just going to be an unstoppable monster.
Even now, the sentient world simulation is watching you learn about it, and inside its intelligent mind is creating a second you, running different scenarios against you to see how you react. This is an article from 10 years ago. The DoD is developing a parallel to planet Earth with billions of individual nodes to reflect every man, woman and child this side of the dividing line between reality and AR.
Your brain reality is your reality. And if in fact I can import information into that brain and take outputs from that brain and link that to an avatar so that brain thinks that it's embodied and moving in the world and experiencing the world, can we do this? Yeah, we can do these kind of things.
At the time of initial reports on the program, there were only 62 country-level simulations being run by the US Department of Defense.
And what people have to realize is that these targeted individuals are basically the test stage for rolling all of this madness out to all 7 billion of us on this planet.
And this is going to be done without our knowledge, and that it's going to be through biological modifications that are being made to the human race. And that may sound pretty out of this world, folks, but it seems to be happening in the world right now, unbeknownst to the people everybody is being genetically altered. And with the advent of things such as the D-Wave computer system and the new quantum computers that they're building and the 5G grid, it's about to be taken to the next level. And what we are heading for is a surveillance system and a lockdown of unprecedented proportions.
So that's exactly what I said. Just like Dr. James Giordano, who said that human beings are being linked to their respective digital avatars in the supercomputers and quantum computers of CIA and NSA. So this is Matrix movie is real. Transhumanism, neuroslavery, total biometric surveillance, total control, total population control is in the near future. Once they link majority of the human population to this Hive AI, they will reveal it to the public that they are all part of this brain net, also known as human quantum computer. Dr. Michael Persinger, Dr. Igor Smirnov, and Dr. John Norsey said these things about neuroweapons reading human brains remotely. Specifically, Dr. Michael Persinger said 6 billion people on this planet, their brains can be influenced by generating electromagnetic induction of fundamental algorithms in the atmosphere. He said this 20 years ago when the Earth's population was still 6 billion. He said it in the 1990s. So please read these paragraphs. When I went to a grocery store in India, I saw an Indian man with his Caucasian wife who was wearing a sari and a bindi on her forehead like Indian Hindu woman. So I instantly reacted and said, "Welcome to India," in subvocal speech. Subvocal speech is things that you say to yourself inside your mind. It's called subvocal speech. So the evil perpetrators sitting in America read my private thoughts, what happened in India, and posted this secret coded message, "Welcome, Bindi."
You are connected as an organic computer. I mean, this is one of the most quote unquote conspiratory theories that's been around for many years, decades. But the reality is we're now facing the reality of that. It is no longer a conspiracy, and quite frankly, it terrifies me.
Imagine what would happen if we had to link thousands of brains together. Just like nature creates a superior intelligence by forming flocks, schools, shoals, and swarms, we could create the brain of brains, the world's first ever human quantum computer. Well, what if we told you we already have?
They are already telling us that they have already built this human quantum computer. The mainstream media of CNN, BBC, Fox, ABC, they won't tell you all these things because the entire media, Western media, is covertly controlled by the intelligence agencies and the ruling oligarchs, the ruling class elites. They only show you what they want you to see, which is why you never learn these things on the mainstream media. So if these evil psychopaths are not stopped now, it will be too late for human species to protect themselves from being brutally and horrifically oppressed and enslaved by the evil US government psychopaths in the very near future. We have at best 10 to 15 years time frame to stop this insanity. Human existence will have absolutely no meaning. No human being will have any privacy left. Every thought, emotion, and memory from every human brain will be instantly read and programmed by networked supercomputers AI in the very near future. This shadow government or deep state is 100% real. It's not a conspiracy theory.
And we'll see a short video describing this before we go to the next session. Please.
Fellow citizen of the world, we are the Illuminati. Today a new dawn is starting. We are going to take over this planet for the best of all mankind. You have two choices: join us, or you will be specks of dust of human history. We are the shadows that follow you and grow amongst you. For years and years we planned and got ready for this day. We already taken control of the UN, governments, and all the entertainment industry. You can't defeat us, so don't even try. Any action against us will be treated swift and with no mercy. We are the Illuminated. One world, one government, new order.
This Illuminati is real. WEF, the World Economic Forum, was started by CIA, and it is run by Klaus Schwab, who is the henchman of CIA. I told these evil psychopaths years ago that I will never behave like a slave, like the rest of the Americans, regardless of how much they torture me. And I never did. I also told them that I will never beg for mercy, regardless of how much they torture me, even if they put a gun to my head. In fact, I actually ferociously fought these psychopaths for the last 16 years, all by myself. But I can only do so much without media's help or power.